few days ago, I reviewed the executive order by President Trump issued on December 21st, 2017. The executive order is titled Executive Order Blocking the Property of Persons Involved in Serious Human Rights Abuse or Corruption. Today, January 26th, 2018, a Q post just came out sometime in the last couple hours, and it is number 607, and it reads as follows. Read slowly and carefully. Will become critically important in the coming weeks. Continue to track those who are resigning across all platforms. Where there once was darkness, there now will be light. I will attach it. I will also attach, and this is the critically important part of it, I will attach the link to the White House executive order that blocks property persons involved in serious human rights abuse and corruption. So what the major news folks got, even the alt-right news folks, even the truthers, etc., most of the comments, and I've said this before, most of the comments had to do with human rights abuse and with the trafficking of individuals, sexual slavery, personal slavery, child predation, and pedophilia. Incredibly important things. Let's not stray from that at all, whatever. And obviously, from what all indications, there are over 1,000 people that have been arrested across a lot of platforms and throughout the entire country for pedophilia and for those kinds of crimes. But the other half of it, and this is the part about which I asked people to take consideration, has to do with corruption. And it applies not only to corruption itself, it applies to all kinds of corrupt activities. That is, buying favors, abuse, bribery, engaged in government overthrow, and that kind of thing. It covers and includes, for most of, or for some of it, foreign individuals. But when one gets to the other areas about all kinds of financial, material, governmental, or technological support for any of the illegal activity for corruption, for buying favors, for, let's take into account, let's not forget, war-related stuff, terrorism, helping with subversive organizations, doing anti-United States things, engaging in treason. Those kinds of things can be blocked. The property of those individuals can be blocked and stopped by the United States government. And what it leaves open, certainly as it relates to the things that everybody else paid attention to, that is the child abuse, the pedophilia, the slavery, etc., clearly blocking the property of the people who have done that is incredibly important stuff. But when you take a look at the rest of it, it is a dragnet that is 1,000 times bigger, potentially, even than the dark, dark corners of the sex slave traffic, slavery, pedophilia, etc. Because it will go into the areas of all kinds of business, property, governmental, surreptitious terrorist activity and organizations across all spectrums, and it will apply to everybody, that and will go after and close down the property of others. Now, let me give a couple examples. One of those examples, which is almost impossible for most of us to believe, is that the Clinton Foundation supposedly has access to or control of billions or tens of billions of dollars, and in linkage with other organizations more than that. The Bush cabal has access to millions, if not billions of dollars. There are foreign agencies that have conscribed and intended and worked as accessories for illegal, genocidal, and abuses of all kinds, treason, and all of those things are subject to being locked up. The property of those people are scheduled, allowed to be blocked and locked up. So what he did was, that is, the president, was he engaged and requested that the Treasury, the Secretary of State, and his office, and there's one other agency, to in concert do all of the acts that are prescribed by this order, and to do so to include not only private individuals. This is the other important part about this that is huge. It includes private individuals, but it also includes partnerships, limited liability companies, corporations, foundations, trusts, nonprofit activities, organizations. It encompasses all of them, and with that, if a corporation has engaged in genocidal or terrorist or anti-American activities that are clearly within the scope, there is the possibility that billions and trillions of dollars can be locked up and stopped. And let me go one step further, and this relates to my little project, the Pandamopoly, which is to say, where there are banking institutions that have engaged in international, genocidal, treasonous, war-related, terrorist activities in order to gain advantage, huge sources of funds and individuals can be frozen in those situations and stopped from conducting that kind of business in the future. So while I have said most of this already, it bears repeating. It bears repeating because Q has pointed out that this will become critically important in the coming weeks. So pay attention to it, folks. It isn't just that these folks are going to start resigning. It is that people are going to be forced out of their companies because the company is going to try to survive. They're going to be forced into a corner. They're going to be forced to confessing to certain kinds of things because they're going to try to retain assets. It has and as soon as a few of these are actually constrained, as soon as there is some evidence that this is going on, there will be a waterfall of other individuals and corporations and businesses and trusts and foundations begging for special consideration to be cared for. Now, the flip side of it is, and this is something that some of us have taken note of and some of us have not, and I have no way of knowing whether it is true, once we begin to squeeze on these folks, the dangers of false flags, fake kind of events taking place in order to take the vision away, the focus away from the problems that they're having increases geometrically, exponentially. So I am going to simply leave this with you and leave the links that you read. But when you read them, as Q has said, slowly and carefully, and look at the implications that relate not only to the trafficking, but to the corruption and the broad spectrum of corruption that is included. there's an awful lot of indication. I just watched an InfoWars with Milo and Alex Jones saying that sources like these are being stifled. And I received a notice today that one of my videos, YouTube videos, had been banned from Facebook because it is hate speech. So if saying that people that are engaging in treasonous activity is hate speech, then guess what? We should be hateful, even though we're not. And it is going to be important, not just for me, obviously, but for Q's message to get out, to spread these around as much as you can, to subscribe to mine if you can, because I will stay on this, no matter what happens, I will stay on this. To give a thumbs up if you can, it will change the algorithm. To pass this to other folks, to post it if you can, to tap the bell and take a look at something we may do in the future. Take a look at a couple of my things related to recent activity with this pandemopoly. I think you'll find it edifying, or at least clarifying, simplifying some of the things that have been crazy. Take a look at and think about uniting the 10 million and getting on about the 3% of us in this country that can make a change in this world. If there are enough of us to say, no, stop this, it's not going to continue any longer. And like the Continental soldiers of old, after our Declaration of Independence, 3% of us can make a difference, just 10 million of us. So thank you for your attention, and please take a look at these sources. It is very, very important. Thanks for following.